Ladies and gentlemen, Project Trinity, also known as the PlayStation 5 Pro, specifications for this new upcoming hardware has actually leaked online, and I will talk to you guys about it because some very interesting things have been revealed regarding the PS5 Pro's GPU and memory configuration. And this is going to be a quicker video because I'm still trying to reach out to some of my sources because I actually leaked the PS5 Pro early last year. And since then, I've put out some information that does seem to coincide with what we're hearing here. So I'm going to reach out to some of my sources, try to get some updates, because there are several key specifications here which are missing. But let's talk about what Key2 Gaming, which has now been retweeted by billions of people, including, and perhaps most notably of all, of course, Tom Henderson, who has actually been stating, of course, that they've known the specifications and codename for a lot of the stuff in the PS5 Pro for some time now. Anyway, let's talk about, the basic premise of this console. According to what we're seeing here, higher frame rate of 4K, a performance mode for 8K, and accelerated ray tracing. This again matches up what I've been saying for some time. I've heard multi-bounce ray tracing is a really important element of the PS5 Pro, as well as improvements for PSVR 2, basically improvements in ray tracing capabilities and just better looking visuals. As for the frame rate, obviously, one of the problems, of course, we've seen with some games like Returnal and so on, is the resolution is starting to dip in, let's say, performance mode as well as even quality mode. Final Fantasy 16 is a great example. So, this is going to obviously be an element that can definitely be cranked up. We could see vast improvements in the visual quality, the frame rates, whatever the developers decide to do. I would assume that, let's say, a game like Final Fantasy 16 would probably need to receive a patch. Now, quite how this will work, well, we'll have to wait and see. The development kits will be shipping November 2023, and the end of 2024, that's November 2024, is when we're going to see a release date. That pretty much coincides with what I was saying as well, and honestly, it just makes a lot of sense. Now, according to this, the PS5 Pro was never going to be cancelled. I personally was hearing from some sources it was going to be canned, other sources were telling me it wasn't going to be canned. With this stuff, it's always so difficult to know, and obviously a company like Sony are really good at keeping secrets. But yeah, a couple of sources had always told me that the system was going to launch. But obviously, if you're hearing two different sources, or several sources actually, all contradicting one another, it's quite difficult to know what's going on. And this was becoming more confusing because Microsoft themselves has said that there was going to be no Pro console from them. So it was like, well, were they cancelling the PS5 Pro because they didn't feel that there was a need to? I have to admit, I always kind of was suspecting that the PS5 Pro would launch because I just felt that Sony would probably want to, go for that, especially since they're starting to port a lot of games to the PC as well, and yeah, there's a lot of reasons. But anyway, as I said, this is going to be a quicker video, which is kind of ironic given how much I've already been waffling, because there are some specifications which have not been confirmed here. I am trying to find out more information because this website only really gives two key specifications: the number of workgroup processors and the speed of the memory. That is 30 workgroup processors. If you've been watching the last couple of PS5 Pro videos, you'll know that that's actually the number I stated. A couple of sources had hinted that 30 was the correct number, but I couldn't get any confirmation, so I put it out as a speculation 30. And that's, according to this website, what we're seeing here. 18,000 is the memory speed. Unfortunately, that doesn't give us the bandwidth, because bandwidth also requires the bus width. I'm going to make the assumption that it's 256-bit, the same as the PS4, but that is not, PS5, but that is not confirmed. I'm trying to find out more. If it is 18,000 on 256-bit, it would be 576 gigabytes per second of bandwidth. That doesn't sound a whole lot over the base model PS5, but you have to remember that that doesn't necessarily mean much, because we are looking at vastly different graphics IPs. From what I understand, and it's not listed here, so this could be wrong, but I'm hearing it's RDNA 3.5. RDNA 3.5 is already a thing on PC hardware. Well, actually, we're seeing RDNA 3 already available. For example, the RX 7900 XT or whatever. And Sarlacc, which is an APU that I've already leaked, and others have talked about it as well as Strix Point, which is Sarlacc is part of Strix Point. Now, Sarlacc and Strix Point is basically RDNA 3.5. It's an RDNA 3/4 hybrid, and it will be in APUs designed mostly for things like laptops. Again, this is not new information. I've leaked it, and there's even been literal benchmarks which have popped up online at this point. In fact, I covered one, I think it was yesterday. This is an APU which is going to launch probably next year. And it is looking very impressive, actually, the IP. From my understanding, a couple of main changes for 3.5 include Seilu and a new geometry engine. There are probably more changes, but honestly, not everything has leaked yet. So, unfortunately, we do not know all of the specs. An obvious example is we do not know how much GPU performance we're looking at because we don't have the clock frequency of the GPU. You need the number of workgroup processors and the clock frequency to know how many T-flops it is. Now, I have leaked in multiple videos that I'd been hearing that it was roughly 2 times the PS5 in terms of raster performance, and 2.5 times in terms of ray tracing performance. A couple of folks had told me that they were expecting like 2.5 gigahertz, maybe a little more for the clock frequency, but do not quote me on that at the moment because that was quite a while ago and things can change. But it would make sense because from what I've heard about Sarlacc and RDNA 3.5, it clocks up the wazoo. Like, it is really impressive in terms of clock frequency. But again, we'll have to wait and see. There is actually no mention again regarding the CPU IP. Sarlacc, as well as Strix Point, is based on Zen 5, but I heard the PS5 Pro started in development prior to this, and it's more likely to be Zen 4. Do not, again, take that as confirmation, but I'm hearing it's Zen 4, and it's going to have 8 CPU cores. That's what I was basically told by a source. And again, this is not new information that I'm putting out from myself. I've said this in several videos. You can watch, the last couple of ones that I've put up on the channel. So this is not, this is not me just randomly saying this. I've been saying this stuff for a while. I don't think they're going to add a crap ton of extra CPU cores. It is not needed. They're going to focus on single thread performance, and obviously a lot of the stuff is going to be down to the GPU. Sony have been doing a crap ton of work for ray tracing. We've already seen some patents from Sony discussing ray tracing and improvements, and you could tell it was not RDNA 2, which is basically what they were using for the PS5 ray tracing. Essentially, they were just using the TMUs, and what that did, essentially, I'm really simplifying things here, is triangle/ray intersection was run on the TMUs, but the BVH traversal, that was all done via shaders. Now, whether Sony are going to add any hardware for BVH traversal, because we've actually seen a patent that I covered recently from AMD that actually showed BVH traversal running on a separate dedicated section of the GPU. Now, whether Sony is incorporating that, I do not know. With the patents that we've seen, though, it was talking about things like ray shortening and basically just much more improved, much better efficiency when it's come to like ray tracing as a whole. And we also saw a really interesting, what would you call it, an internal presentation from Sony that I covered as well. And what that was basically showing is, you can almost kind of say it's a little bit like FSR or DLSS, which basically takes lower resolution, for example 1080p, and upscales it to 4K. The principle is obviously you're taking a smaller number of pixels and then you're increasing the resolution. With that technology, they were basically using a whole litany of tech, and they were using smaller numbers of rays and then basically upsampling them in the scene. I am really simplifying that. It is not quite what happens, but I covered it already in a much more in-depth way in other videos, and I don't want to get super technical in this. So yeah, this is just a quick video going over this stuff. Again, I will go in much deeper depth. Wow, that was a crap sentence. But I will go much deeper into this over the next few days, trying to find out some more information on some of my sources. One thing I will say is a source actually reached out to me and told me that the memory configuration is utilizing DDR5 as well, and this is actually today, and they're not certain about that, so do not take that to the bank, do not take that as confirmed. The PS4 Pro, for example, that was using DDR5 memory and DDR4. I can't remember the capacity of the DDR4. No, I'm sorry, it may be DDR3. It doesn't really matter. And that was to offload things to the basically OS stuff. And there's quite a lot of memory that the PS5 dedicates to OS crap. So yeah, we're looking at just I think about 2.5 gigs is OS stuff on the PS5. That's a good chunk. I'm sure there's probably going to be some other changes as well to the system. Again, I will go much deeper into this pretty soon. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of stuff I should mention in this video, but you can check out my older things if you would like. But subscribe to the channel if you're new. I will go much deeper into this over the next couple of days. This was a very unplanned video. I was actually working on an RDNA 4 script because I've been hearing lots of stuff about RDNA 4. So that was actually, and actually funnily enough, another update to Strix Point / Sarlacc. So that was actually where my brain was all day, and then this popped up, and a number of you were like tweeting me and all of that about this. So thanks to everyone who did. As I said, I will go much deeper into this pretty soon. I'm going to be also very curious to see what Microsoft does. The problem is, if they have not any APU in design, they're boned for creating like a high-end, piece of silicon. They can't just, you can't just create a high-end console like just in a few weeks or a few months. It's going to take... Well, it depends on how much customization they do and how fast and blah, 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 but it's at least 3 years, really, because obviously there's a lot of work. You have to enter initial design stage, bring up, blah, 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 into mass production. So it's very possible. I already leaked about Xbox Sabin, which was a cancelled Xbox. Basically, it was Series S, hyped up Series S. It was really cool. It had a RDNA 3... I think it's RDNA 3, I can't remember if it's 3 or 3.5 based GPU offhand, but I've done a video on this, you can check it out. But it had also a machine learning chiplet in it, which was really cool, things like upscaling. Now, whether Microsoft were also at one point or another working on a higher end Xbox, I do not know. I was told no, but, I don't have sources literally in Bill Gates' office, and, Phil Spencer, I don't have his phone tapped, so it's very possible that my information is just simply wrong there, or it was cancelled, and they could just spin the project back up. I do not know, but it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Anyway, I think that's just about it for this video. Thanks to everyone who watched and, put up with my ramblings. I'll see you soon. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.